is what kicks everything off with the athletic calendar. And I still think it's going to kick things off, but I'm not so sure there haven't been some changes. And we need to just kind of get an update period on what's going on with the Oklahoma State Cowgirls. And the best way to do that is the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls, Colin Carmichael, who joins us right now. And Coach, how are you?
Robert, I'm good. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just telling you, every day is an adventure these days. You know what I mean?
Yep, just living day to day. I'm happy that our kids are back and we started training, and we're just enjoying each day as it comes and kind of rolling with the changes.
Well, and I was looking, let's start with the changes. I was looking at the schedule, and the last time I looked at it, that TCU exhibition popped up. I look at it this morning, and it doesn't pop up now. The
Right.
non-conference game with Texas A&M on September 4th is the first thing that pops up. Am I to believe that the exhibitions are off now?
Yeah. So the latest updates for us, it looks like most other conferences, we're going to push back to September 1 as a start date for soccer. And so all of our games, we've been losing most of our games in August anyway due to other conferences making a bunch of changes. And so we were kind of holding on to the TCU game and then the OU non-conference game that we play every year. And so those have now been pushed. So yes, right now, and I say it day by day, but as of today, right now, our first game would be against A&M at the beginning of September.
All right. So, what does that do to you? I mean, I would imagine there's some things about it you don't like because you always like to get the girls out and your team out on the pitch for competition. You learn more from that probably than anything. But at the same time, this, this probably you didn't get much of your spring in, did you?
We got probably about half of it to two-thirds
Half
of it,
of it.
somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what this does, the extra practice time would allow is maybe some developmental stuff. Maybe you don't put the foot down on the accelerator in preparation so much because you're not playing matches quite as quick, and you can kind of devote time in practice to maybe, like I said, developmental. How have you and your staff handled it?
Yeah, there's like everything, there's good and bad. The negative is, as a coach and as student athletes, our kids just want to play. They want to compete. This is why they came to Oklahoma State, to play the games, and those are the fun things. Training's fine, but the kids want to compete and they want to try to win things and win matches against other institutions. So taking those away in August, that didn't sit well with us, but you can't really do much about it. That's how things have gone down pretty much across the country. So we're disappointed that we don't get to play those games because you really don't get a chance to get those games back. So that's not good for the student athlete, in my opinion. The pros, the positives are, like you said, our kids have been out for a while. They haven't played maybe as much soccer as some of them might during the summer, and so this does give us a little bit more time to taper them back to sort of the fitness level that we need them to be at. We don't have to be quite as intense during preseason. We can spread it out a little bit because we get basically 2 extra weeks of practice. So, the positive is we do get a little bit more time to get ready for the games and get the kids ready to play. But I think if you ask any athlete, they'd much rather play games against outside competition. So, we were a little disappointed that happened.
Yeah, and I just passed Neil Patterson Stadium, and you talk about a facility that looks good, and man, the grass is as green as it gets, and now, I mean, the facility really now is absolutely completed. Even the little touch ups that needed to be done, maybe even some of the corrections you discovered after being in it for a while. Hey, we'd like to change this around. You've been able to do all those things. So now that you've got that, yeah, sure, you wanna try. And have you heard anything? I know football still doesn't have any idea, but or anything on whether you'll have a percentage of fans able to watch your matches at home?
Yeah, we're still not sure. Probably a little. It'll probably be guided by what the decisions are in the Big 12 for football, as far as what we can do. But yeah, I know they renewed season tickets like they did for football in the anticipation of fans being able to attend the matches. But a lot of that I think is guided by what's going on just in society as a whole with the pandemic and the virus. And I think everybody here wants to have fans. I think the administration would love to open it up and get as many fans in as they can, and certainly our kids would love that. But there's other things that might dictate whether that's possible. So we're to answer your question, no, we don't know yet, but we're very hopeful.
All right, I promise I'm going to ask some soccer questions, but one more, and I think this is more important than any for a coach. Yeah, it's funny down the street. This, Mike Gundy has been talking a little bit about the mental side of it with your athletes. Like you say, they'd like to be out there competing. They know what's going on around the world. They know their coaches are wearing masks. They know, they know everything that's going on. How do you handle the? Because I mean, for all of us have kind of had some. I have some days where I'm like, God, man, this is terrible. I'm not sure I want to wake up and get up this morning because it's a pandemic and all that. How do you handle keeping an upbeat mental attitude, which a team needs to have with your girls?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. It's a challenge in the best of times, to keep everything positive and keep everybody rolling when you have a large group of people that all have different needs and what, things that they want to achieve. So, and what's going on right now, it's even more of a challenge. But, I think from our perspective, it's a little different than football as far as we're not allowed to be around them until August 3rd. So even when our kids started coming back in July, they were around the strength coach and the trainer and not the coaches. So we've only really been with them face to face on the field for a couple of days. And, it's really easy for me to be upbeat because I'm just so excited. Our staff couldn't wait to get back out there. It's been so long. And so I think the girls felt the same way. They were just, really fired up to be on the field. And there was just a real excitement to get back out there. So that part of it's been easy. The hardest part for us is when they weren't here and you're on Zoom calls and talking to them and just trying to stay positive with them. And I think one of the big things we stressed was, listen, this isn't normal. This isn't what you're used to. It's not what you signed up for. But look at the big picture. There's a lot of people in the world a lot worse off than we are. And, we've got an administration that are supporting every athlete. Your scholarship's intact. You're getting an education. Even if it's from distance learning, you're still getting an education, which is going to be a benefit for you for the rest of your life. So, put it in perspective. Is this trying? Is it difficult? Yes. Could it be a lot worse? And, same with our staff. We all have a job right now. We have health insurance. We've got a roof over our head. We can feed our families. And, there's millions of people around right now who can't even do that. So I think when you put it in perspective, it's really easy to be positive and upbeat. That doesn't mean it's not trying and the kids have to make adjustments, but, we're just trying to not sell them, but tell them, look, think of all the positive things that are going on in your life. You're part of a team. We're here. We're training. Let's make the most of it. And they've been great. Our team have handled it really well. We got an unbelievable group of upperclassmen that are leaders, and they've done a fantastic job of, trying to make sure we're all doing the right thing and making good choices.
Colin Carmichael, head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls soccer program, with us, and as I was looking at the schedule too, it looks like you play Kansas twice now. Is that
Yeah.
first KU match kind of built in as a non-conference version, or how's that work?
Yeah, so what we've done is, with all the uncertainty of what each conference, the NCAA's kind of left it up to each conference to decide what they're going to do. And so, you've got the Pac-12 playing Pac-12 only in our sport. You've got the Big Ten playing Big Ten only. Big 12 are playing each other, but we can also play some outside competition. And the uncertainty kind of made it a no-brainer for us to double up with some Big 12 teams, because whatever rules we're under, they're going to be under the same rules. And so we don't want to get to September and all of a sudden we've got two games against teams from, say, Conference USA, and their conference turns around and says, look, you can't play outside competition anymore. Then we're stuck. We don't have games. So by scheduling Kansas, we've also got K-State coming in for a second game. And we're talking with Tech, we're talking with TCU, we're talking with Texas, Baylor, all the teams that are in proximity to us. We're speaking to them because we just kind of figured it doesn't really matter this year. Let's just get games, as many games as we can that are competitive for our kids. That's what we want to do. And so you look, if we don't get to play the other Big 12 teams, that means we're not having a season. So we kind of figured, look, let's get as many of those teams on board because chances of those games getting canceled are a lot less than some of those other conferences. So that was sort of the mindset. So we're excited. It's actually kind of cool that, we're going to play a lot of Big 12 teams twice, and those games are always ultra competitive. So as a player, that's the kind of game you want to be in.
No kidding. And I assume you have Zoom calls with the fellow head coaches in the Big 12, or are those pretty unified?
Yeah, we talk about once a week, once every 2 weeks, just depending on what's going on and what changes have happened. But yeah, the coaching group have been awesome. It's actually been pretty neat. We all compete with each other all the time, and whenever soccer was shut down and we started having these Zoom calls, we actually got to know each other all a little bit better, and it's been really nice to get to know each other on a personal level instead of always just trying to compete with each other. So the conference has been unified. The coaches are great. We're all schedule-wise, we're all trying to help each other. So if we have a team that are willing to play and come to Stillwater, I'm calling down to OU and saying, hey, if you guys are looking for a game on Sunday, whatever, there's a team coming to play us. Do you want to play them? And, we're talking about maybe, some of the teams meeting down in Fort Worth and playing kind of a 4-team little weekend at TCU, and obviously K-State and Kansas coming here makes sense. So yeah, it's been awesome. The coaches have really pulled together and tried to make it work the best we can.
Colin Carmichael again, and let's talk soccer. You lost some really good players and good leaders last year. Particularly maybe some more geared to the offensive end. As you look at the makeup of your team, and let's start with how things are going in camp, and start on the back with the keeper, because I think it always starts in this sport with the person that's that protection in the box. And so take us through how it's looked in camp, and both the new and old names that are doing well.
Yeah, so Danny Greenlee ended up probably from about a third of the season onwards as our starting goalkeeper last year. And Danny actually had another year of eligibility, but she graduated and she's going into med school. So, she went ahead and graduated and moved on. So Hannah Warner, who started quite a few games for us the last 2 years, is our returning goalkeeper. And so she, I would say, comes into camp with the edge. We had a transfer come in during the spring, Malia Milner from St. Mary's out in California. So she got kind of half a spring with us and showed some promise. And then we have a transfer who's come in from Stetson. She showed up here probably about 2 weeks ago, Emily Plotz, and she's done well the first couple of days. And we have a freshman named Amber Lockwood who just got here for preseason, so she hasn't gone through all the physicals and protocols yet to get cleared. So we got 4 goalies. Hannah, obviously, as the returning veteran, probably has the first look, but based on what we've seen from the other 2 that are training right now, it's going to be good competition. So we hope that pushes them all to be better, and we'll figure it out as we get a little further in. We've only had 2 sessions, so probably a couple of weeks from now we might have a better feel for who's number 1, who's number 2, who's 3, and things like that.
Dan, you look, I really think when you talk about the Cowgirls, the players that always end up being the ones you talk about maybe the most. I don't want to slight anybody, but it's the defenders and your midfielders that have made this club so strong over so many years.
Yeah, our back line, the system we play with 3 center backs and then 2 sort of wing backs, if you like. That we started that 3 years ago now, and we've won 2 Big 12 championships playing that way. So that's obviously something we're not going to change until such time as we feel we need to. So we lost Elise Hahn last year, one of our 3 center backs that started pretty much every game, and so we need to replace Elise. But we return, Kim Rodriguez is our All-American center back, who's different level. She hasn't missed a beat the first couple of days of preseason, so it all starts back there with Kim. And we have Allie Jackson, who really came into her own last year and went from being a good player to a very, very good college player. So those 2, and then we're looking for one of our new players to step up and replace Elise with those minutes back there. And we have Molly Briner, we have Jenna Mendoza, we have Hannah Russell. These are all freshmen that we recruited in who can play that spot. So we'll take a look at all 3 of those kids and see where we are. And then the wingbacks, you got Charmaine Morgan and Hannah Webb. It's unbelievable. They have to run up and down the flank all day. And, they happen to be our two fittest kids. So having those two really allows us to play our system and shape and do it well. So those two are key to everything we do. And we have a freshman that's come in, Alex Morris, came in as an early graduate. She came in the spring and did well. So she likes to play there, and she'll certainly get minutes there. And we have another freshman named Kiana Whitty, who is coming off a pretty bad injury, but she's done well the first 2 days of preseason. So we feel really good. We've got a lot of depth in the back, and the question's probably just going to be is which of those newcomers are going to step up and grab minutes.
And then let's just go to the forwards, and the girls are going to be counted on to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The way we play with midfield to forward, we play two sort of holding mids, two attacking mids / forwards, and then one target forward. So it's a little different shape. But, in those holding mids, we've got right now Cami Huddleston and Grace Yoakum would start there for sure. And, the interesting thing for me, Cami's kind of that glue player that just holds it all together for you. She does all the dirty work, and it's not to diminish her ability to play soccer. She's very good, but she's not afraid to just get in there and disrupt everything, and that's one of Cami's biggest roles. And then, Grace Yoakum, if Grace didn't get injured when she did last year, we really feel like she would have been an All-American. She was on track to do that, and unfortunately got cut short late in the year with injury. But, Yokes is back, and we expect her to just dominate games. So those two will influence what we do. And then a little bit ahead of them, Olivia Dowell is back, and we think that Olivia is our most talented player, and had a very, very good freshman year, but we think there's a lot more to come. I think she's an All-American level player if she makes one or two improvements. So Olivia is huge for us. Gabriella Coleman is back for her senior year, and at the end of the year, Gabriella I think she scored in 8 of the last 9 games or something along those lines. So she found her form late in the season, and she's going to be a huge impact in the forward line. We lose JC Jones, which everybody knows is a huge loss for us, kind of the heartbeat of the team. But we had a kid who redshirted last year out of Wichita named Peyton Vinci, and Peyton's back. And 2 days of preseason, we're all just kind of like, wow, look at this kid play. So we're really excited about Peyton. And we got some newcomers. Keona Simon is a very athletic forward out of Dallas, the Denton area, and she's going to push somebody for a starting spot because that kid can play and score goals. Megan Haynes got a lot of minutes last year, and she really developed this spring. So we expect Megan to challenge for minutes. And we have a newcomer named Cheyenne McClary out of Oklahoma City who can play. So yeah, it's a good group. We're only 2 days in, so the newcomers have a long way to go, but we've got a real core of about 9 or 10 that we feel great about, and then we really just need 3, 4, 5 of those newcomers to step up, and that'll probably be our group that get the majority of the minutes.
All right, that's a great rundown, folks. You can't get that. You can't get a better rundown than that from anybody. And again, so just 2 days in, and now you'll have. Here's the other thing too. You've got the weather's been really nice, but I think it's supposed to get hot and humid again, and I know that's another thing. That coaches like to have a little bit of heat because you like to make sure and test the conditioning and get some of that in, because invariably you're going to play some hot matches during the season, even starting in September for sure. So, that I think that'll work out. I see the weatherman saying it's going to get warmer.
Yeah, we've kept an eye on it. It's been really nice. This first week has probably been a good thing to sort of get them back a little bit slower than usual with the uncertainty, with the longer layoff that they've had this summer. But it was really interesting to me that our kids came back, and we've gotten word from our medical team about football maybe having to go a little bit slower to condition them back in. Maybe not hit them quite as hard as you would on those first couple of days. Well, our team tested. I think 13 of our kids did our beat test last preseason that did it this year. So there's some data we can look at, and 8 of them did better this year than they did last year. So I think soccer athletes and maybe cross country and track, it's a little bit different than football, that you've got some bigger, more muscle mass in football that you probably have to be a little bit more careful with. But our kids have come in I'm impressed. They've come in pretty fit. So we're going a little bit slower because we want to be cautious. But I'm watching them thinking, man, they're not far off from where they were last year. They look really good. So getting them in the heat next week will be good. And we've been able to adjust our sessions. We're going at 7 o'clock at night. We're not doing any 2-a-days as far as field sessions go. Now they're doing some work in the weight room in the morning, but we've backed off partly because of the uncertainty with their fitness levels, and also just with the schedule being pushed back, it makes sense. So yeah, they'll be fine. This week's been great with the weather, and then it'll heat up next week, and we'll probably start pushing them a little bit harder next week. And we think by September 1 they'll be raring to go and excited and ready.
Colin, we appreciate the time, and again, good luck with the preparations. And I just told my audience at the beginning of the show today. I've been one of those people. I haven't said if. I've kind of pushed the when. So I've been kind of like Pollyanna, but best wishes on preparation, and best wishes on getting a season in. I think we all, especially on the Oklahoma State campus, sports is pretty doggone important, and whether we get to be in the stands or we have to watch on television or streaming or whatever, I think we'd all like to see some sports. So good luck with everything.
All right, Robert, I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
I appreciate it. Colin Carmichael, head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls soccer program.